Miss Stella's Meza. On today's episode, I'll show you how to make green bean casserole from scratch. For this, you'll need some green beans that have been washed and cut in half. You'll need some sliced onions. You'll need some diced onions. Mushrooms that have been wiped clean with a damp cloth and sliced thinly. Salt. Half and half. Some oil for frying. Some chicken broth. Some soy sauce. And you also need Worcestershire sauce that I did not show in this video. You'll need some milk. Some unsalted butter. Some all-purpose flour. Some garlic powder. Some onion powder. And some freshly ground black pepper. To start off, you'll need to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 180 degrees Celsius. And you will need a large pot to which you'll add water and sprinkle of salt. And you want to bring that to a boil. And then you're going to add your green beans. And then you're going to cook that until tender crisp. That's about 8 minutes. Now you want a large bowl with some ice cubes in it. What you're going to do is you're going to take your green beans from the hot water and put them in that ice cold water. What that does is it shocks them into stopping the cooking process, and it also keeps them nice and bright green. Just like I have in that bowl you see there. Right, next in a large saucepan you want to put your butter, and then you want to put your sliced mushrooms. Now you want to cook them until the moisture comes out of them and they're nice and brown as shown right now. And then you want to add your diced onions and give that a good stir. Next you want to add your flour, and you want to make sure that you mix that well so that it does not stick to the bottom, and you do not want that to burn. Now you want to drizzle in that half and half. And you want to give that a good stir. All right, next you're going to add your chicken broth to that mixture, and you're also going to give that a good stir. Now here we're creating the sauce that will go up over our green beans. All right, next you want to add the seasonings. You want to put the soy sauce, and you want to give that a stir. To that, you want to add your Worcestershire sauce. That word always gives me a hard time, y'all, but you know what I mean. And then you want to give that a stir. And you want to keep stirring till that sauce is nice and thick like you see in the pan. Once you see that, you want to add in your green beans and stir well to coat them in that sauce. So you see what we created in the pan? That's what would replace with that canned stuff that they sell in stores, which is very high in sodium. So we have made our own at home, and you know exactly what's in it. So once that's all the green beans are coated well, you want to add the salt and the pepper. And give that a good stir just to make sure everything's well seasoned. And then in a baking dish, you want to put all that green bean and the sauce, you want to put that into the baking dish, and that's a 2-quart baking dish. Just make sure it's oven safe, whatever you decide to use. And you want to go ahead and put that in the oven And you want to cook it there for 20 to 25 minutes. Now, if you are trying to do this dish the day ahead, you can stop at this point and place this in the refrigerator and then continue the next step the following day if you're trying to save on time. But you want to just make sure that it's all nice and level. If you're cooking it on the same day, you prepare it and then bake it in the oven, place it in the center rack for 20 to 25 minutes. Patting it down there to make sure it's all in an even layer. That way everything cooks evenly. Now while that's cooking, you want to start to prepare your French fried onions. Now I have the sliced onions there, I have milk, and I have the all-purpose flour. And then I have a colander lined with paper towels just to absorb any excess oil once I've fried the onions. So what I do is I take a handful of those sliced onions and dip them into the milk. You want to make sure that they're well coated, so you want to dip them, make sure they're nice and coated with that milk. And then you're going to let the excess milk drip off the onions, and then you're going to put it in the bowl with the all-purpose flour. Now if you'd like, you can put a pinch of salt, or actually a teaspoon of salt in that flour, or you can wait after you fry the onions and then salt them right after they come out of the hot oil. As you can see, I'm tossing them in that flour just to make sure they're all nicely coated. And then you want to shake off any excess flour, and we're going to drop them back into the milk. Now you can stop at the first coating if you don't want your onions extra crispy, but I'm doing it twice just to make sure that they're extra crispy. And then once I put them in that milk, I'm going to take them out of the milk again and once again coat them with the flour and set them aside on that plate you see to your right. Now in the meantime, you have your oil heating on medium heat, and you want to make sure that the temperature of the oil is at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's 180 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough to cook your oils without them sitting in the bottom of the pan just getting soggy. All right, now you see me drip off that excess milk and drop the onions back into the flour. So these are going to be nice and extra crispy, just the way I like them. Making sure I get all the onions from that bowl with the milk. I'm going to coat them one more time with that flour. And then I'm going to put them on that plate to the side. Now, if you don't want all this work, if you don't care too much about the crispiness of the onions, you can just dip them once in the milk and once in the flour and then set them aside. They'll be ready to fry at that point. And you want to make sure you shake off any excess flour, because if it falls into the oil, it's going to make your oil dirty and it'll be smoky and frothy. It'll be hard to see what it is you're frying. So what I'm doing here is I'm testing the oil for readiness. As you can see, it starts sizzling right away. I dropped a piece of onion in there and it just started sizzling right away. That indicates that my oil is ready for frying. And I also use a candy thermometer to make sure that the oil was at the correct temperature before I started frying. So there you have the onions. I'm dropping them into the pan. Try not to overcrowd them, that way they cook evenly. And I'm using that slotted spoon to pick them out the oil, and I drain them on that colander with the paper towels. So what you do, you take your green beans out of the oven and you sprinkle those fried onions up over the top of the dish liberally, or you can serve up your green beans on a plate, on an individual plate, and then top it off with those fried onions, and you'll be ready to go. Now this is a dish that is typically common here in America on the holiday menu. That's Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it is very delicious. It's very delicious. It tastes good. There's that crunchiness from the onions, and then there's that creaminess from the mushroom soup that we created there. And there you have it. So I hope you join me next time as I take your taste buds on another culinary safari. Thank you, and Karibu to Stella's Meza.
Yeah, 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 yeah.